Hello, everybody, and welcome to XB2+1 episode 25, which is brought to you live through the power of patreon.com/XB2 initially. And if you're listening later on YouTube, we appreciate all of you and everyone, no matter where you're listening, podcasts, YouTube, Patreon, etc. And I'm with my good buddy, as always, my co-host with the co-most achievements, Randall Thor 19, the man with $1 billion in the bank.
Yeah, I wish I had. Yeah, I wish it was even man with thousands in the bank. You know.
Oh damn, Randall poverty.
Yeah,
Randall $19 in the bank. Damn,
that's true.
It's hard times, bro. It's hard times.
I'm excited about this episode because we have a great person on, good friend, joining us from his own show. The host of the Xbox Expansion Pass. We got Luke Lohr, aka Insipid Ghost, joining us for Xbox2+1. How you doing?
I'm so good. We've been trying to do this for such a long time. I'm appreciative of you guys having me on. I'm stoked to talk about, all of our this week's topics. But in general, man, just thank you guys for having me.
And now you can go back to Mr. Badbit and being like, hey, screw you. I was on Xbox 2 as well, so...
That's the first thing I did was tell him, like, hey, today's the day. Today's the day. And, I rubbed it in his face. That's how I do.
Yeah, that's how you do. It is how you do.
Oh, damn.
As Jazz usually does this sort of thing, but he'll be like, hey, for anybody that doesn't know who you are and what you do, Luke, why don't you let the people know, like, what the Xbox Expansion Pass and everything is all about?
Absolutely. So I host a weekly podcast called the Xbox Expansion Pass. We just crossed episode 251, so hit that 250 mark, which is pretty darn cool. It's been 5 years of covering Xbox on a weekly basis. I've done 125 plus developer interviews in that time, where I've talked to AAA game developers, creative directors, to indie games that most people have never heard of, just trying to get a feel for what's going on in the gaming space. Beyond that, I've had the privilege to go to Summer Game Fest, and I met Jez in person. And I just love gaming. I love Xbox, and I love covering Xbox. And so the XEP is it's everywhere. Anyone can find it. And just a great community of people. And it's a good time to be an Xbox fan, especially this week. So that's good.
Well, I mean, some people would disagree with you on that part about a good time to be an Xbox fan. There's a lot of, there's a lot of, change in the air with Xbox and what they've been planning. Some people aren't on board. Some people don't care. Some people are happy with it. So, but I mean, you mentioned you met Jez at the Game Award, at the game Xbox. Yeah, the Summer Games. How was that? How was meeting Jez in person finally?
Super cool. I was honored to be at that kind of Xbox creator dinner where I met Harjeet and the Xbox era gents and Jez and the Iron Lord showed up. And it was just cool because you hear all these people, you hear their voice, you talk to them on socials, you chat with them if you're sharing podcast space and collabs. But like seeing somebody in person, you really get a feel for, who they are, what they're about, what they value. And when you sit down and eat a meal with somebody, everyone's jet lagged and tired, but happy to be there. And so that was just a good time chatting with everybody. And so I made him take a picture with me, which was fun. I cherish that picture. It's framed. It's above my wall. No, I'm just kidding.
Is it? Yeah, you can. When you watch the XCP, you can see that picture like right there behind Luke. He has it prominently displayed.
That's right. But yeah, no, it was great, and those moments are always the best. Just sitting in the car, sharing rides with people, realizing just everybody just loves video games or wants to cover video games in the best of their capacity. Everyone's just doing it and trying to make it. It's just a fun vibe. It's a good time, and so I consider myself very privileged to be punching above my weight and get to spend time with all of those incredible people.
Oh, you're not punching above, man. I mean, that's the thing about gaming. It's like the great equalizer, right? Like it's just crazy. Like you say punching above your weight, but like it's crazy when you hang out with like AAA devs as well, or like people like Phil, and you just realize like everyone just, no matter what walk of life you come from, everyone's united by this sense of gaming, no matter what country you're from, what your politics are. It's really crazy, like the kind of like the range of people that will reach out to me and ask about Xbox, and they've all got the same concerns that everyone else has, no matter where they're from. So it was awesome to me, man, and all the other people as well. It's and I am there with you that it is a great time to be in the Xbox ecosystem. I think, even if some people are, really, really intent on being negative, I mean, I've been accused of that as well, but like at a high level, I'm just I'm really
doom
excited.
And gloomer, bro. You're dooming and glooming.
Of course, man.
Every episode.
It's hilarious because it's like
your opinion articles, doom and gloom.
Depends on who you ask, man. I mean, some people say doom and gloom. Other people would be like, "Oh my god, 24/7 shill." Can't win, man. Can't win. I'm whatever you need me to be. You need me to be a shill. I'll be a shill. What does Eminem say?
I am whatever I say. Whatever you say, I am. Right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. To quote the great philosopher Eminem.
Yeah.
It's funny too because like
I am. Sorry.
No, that's my child right there. But it's funny, like there's no winning because whomever you're talking to, everybody I think wants what they support to be successful. But success is such a different thing, and it's changing so much. We had a great conversation, and I'm sure we'll get into it. But we had a great conversation on this past week's Xbox Expansion Fest because we asked ourselves, like, what's Xbox's goal now? Is it the same goal they had 5 years ago? Was it the same goal they had when they started Xbox 360, Xbox One, even halfway through the Xbox One generation? Like, you're in third place console sold, but are you successful? Are you still around? Are you competing? Are you putting games out? Like, what does success look like? What's the goal of the company versus what some of us in the content creation space, what the journalists want, what the players want? And it's all a matter of perspective, all of it.
It really is.
Why don't you answer that question, Luke? Do you think Microsoft's goals were the same 5 years ago as they are today? Do you think that's shifted over time? I mean, like, I think they've always wanted to reach as many gamers as possible. I mean, they've said so, right? They've said 2 billion gamers, right?
2 billion gamers, yeah.
How many times has Phil come out and said that? Yeah. But do you think so? If the goal is reach all these million people, these billions of people, do you think they've changed the strategy of how they do it, or maybe move stuff forward since 2018 and the acquisitions, all that stuff? Do you think any of that stuff's changed, or just like, no, this is kind of the path they were on?
I think absolutely it's changed, and I think anybody that doesn't change is setting themselves up for failure in the business sense, because you have to ebb and flow. Like a tree that doesn't bend with the wind does break. And they lost the worst generation. What's that?
Good metaphor.
Where's that quote from?
Oh, thank you. I came up with it.
That's a Luke special. That's a Luke special.
Yeah, all right. We got Eminem, the philosopher, and Luke Lohr, the philosopher as well.
I like that.
I teach English by day. I teach 12-year-olds. So I gotta have all these metaphors.
I actually found someone who would actually read books just like me. So maybe it's time to get rid of Jez and I could talk books with Luke.
Hell no. I read books. I read Goosebumps when I was a kid.
I have that for some of my students. I'm actually reading Stephen King's It right now, and it is wildly different than
different than the movie.
Yeah, but they're both good.
Have you gotten to the part that everybody talks about when they read that book? Like the part? Hopefully you're not giving it to your students.
No, God, no.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Like, no. Gosh, no. I often sit whatever I'm reading at the time on my desk with a bookmark in it, so they see that I'm reading. I will do that, for sure. So, but remind me the question. Look at me.
We were just talking about, like, you mentioned like Xbox changing.
Xbox's direction, yeah.
You know the thing, like how the industry was in the 360. I mean, how just look at how much the industry's changed in the last 10 years alone, right? You go back to 2013, and now every multiplayer game is essentially crossplay. Mm-hmm. And I remember a few years ago when that first started at being like a huge thing where it was like, oh my God, I can play with my friends on PlayStation or my friends on PC. and play in the same game? Because at the time, or at least previously, it was always like, well, you want to buy a multiplayer game on the most popular console because then you'd always have people to play with. That was like kind of one of those like winning things you would get from playing on the most popular console. Like it was
Right.
it was that point. But then all of a sudden the developers, I don't know whether they pushed Sony or Microsoft or whoever was pushing for it, and now virtually every single game, it doesn't matter where you play, you're in the same pool. And it's like, I never thought that would happen. And then, here you are with, Microsoft putting their games day one on PC and then bringing them to other platforms, and Sony doing stuff on PC, and how much the industry's changed. And then it's like, you look forward and it's like, where's the industry going to be 5 to 10 years from now? What other big changes will we see, right?
Right. And Microsoft, I think, has always been forward thinking in those respects. Think about, the Xbox One, and this has been well documented, nearly everything that they tried to do with Xbox One is now done by everybody, right? Like from digital gaming spaces to DRM to motion controls, I think, being done in VR and other places. But like, they did so much with the Xbox One that is now commonplace across the platform, across all of gaming as a platform. And it was just too far ahead of its time. It was just a little bit too soon. Xbox was the first to do hard drives. They moved Xbox Live in a direction that you could download your video games in the console space. And those are big changes that showcased long ago that Xbox was willing to change, adapt, and move forward. And they're not about making consoles to sell the most consoles. I'm sure they'd love that, right? Like, I don't know how they wouldn't love that. But what they're about is making money. And I've had to make peace with some of these changes because my old hat self, like, I really want Xbox to be like number one and most successful because I just appreciate their games, Gears, Forza, Halo, that Pillar 3 that once was. Those are some of my favorite games. Like, I love those games. I actually love Sea of Thieves. I have 900 hours in Sea of Thieves. I'm not playing it so much these days, but like, I love that game too. And I enjoyed Crackdown. I don't care what anyone says. I had a good time. Yeah, but like, they make what I like, so I want them successful. And I've had to make peace of, if I love Halo as much as I do, there's a world where had Xbox not chosen to adjust its strategy and adjust the way that it produces income, they may not be making Halo for much longer. And they did change, and so I'll get more Halo down the line.
Well,
and
I
again,
guess that's,
it bothers me, but like, I want more Halo, so I value that more.
well, yeah, that's a good jumping off point about Halo, right? Because I know you are a big Halo fan. You're out there playing Halo with Ainsley from Season Gaming and stuff. Well, yeah, I mean, but he's also a huge Halo fan.
Yeah.
What do you think about the changes that 343 have done with moving the franchise? I mean, you remember those rumors a couple years ago that Jez was kind of in front of, you know what? I hear they might be moving it to Unreal Engine 5, and people are like, no, that's impossible. That'll never happen, right? So they announced that all their projects moving forward are UE5, and then they even announced a name change. They're no longer 343; it's Halo Studios. So, how do you feel about that as a longtime Halo fan, and what do you want to see from them moving forward?
Well, ultimately, like, big picture, I want more Halo, and I want Halo to be respected in the way and loved by people the way I love it, right? So that means I need a good Halo product. The Halo show, not going to bring in people the way I want. I need a Fallout level experience in the Halo show to bring people in, and I want that same experience in the game space. I think Infinite really is a pretty solid game for all its flaws. I think it was a pretty solid game, but it didn't launch content ready, didn't launch feature complete, didn't launch ready to be a live service, and it was quite literally the opposite of its namesake in Infinite. But it's still a great gameplay experience. Now, as far as Halo Studios going forward and what the changes at 343 mean, hopefully the culture has changed. That contracted worker mentality just doesn't work in an industry where you've got Game of the Year developers at Baldur's Gate. I think it's Larian saying, like, you need to keep and cultivate your talent, give them time to learn, and then keep them on board. And Microsoft was doing the exact opposite with Halo, and they were cycling people out, come in, learn a proprietary engine, peace out. And that's just not conducive to improving your overall product. And so, big picture, I'm excited for these changes. I think the idea of being on Unreal Engine is going to bring us a better product because it's a more universal language spoken on the developer side. And I think that's something that you want. You want people to be able to come in and contribute much more quickly than having to learn Slipspace. I really was impressed with the Slipspace engine once I saw people really understand how it works and what it does. But ultimately, I want better Halo. And so if they can find a way to do with Unreal what Halo does so well, and that's feel unique in the shooter space, but also give themselves an avenue to update the game faster, be more responsive to player needs. Like at first, remember when Infinite launched, we didn't even have a Slayer playlist. That's a problem. Like,
God, I forgot about that. Yeah.
You know, like that's a fundamental issue. How do you launch Halo without that? And I think those are far more pressing concerns than whether or not you have split screen, which matters a lot to some people, but not the masses. And you got to be prepared to deal with the fact that gamers now, like every game that comes out, somebody else said this, these aren't my words, but I agree with it. Every game that comes out is competing with Fortnite. Every game that comes out is competing with Call of Duty. Every game that comes out is competing with your major players and time sinks. That might have been Sean Layden that said that. And it's true. So you got to find a way for Halo to exist amongst these elite shooters, these elite live service games that are providing content on a regular basis. And I think the best way to do that is being on an engine that more people understand and changing your workplace culture. So big picture, I'm excited by it. Am I sad? Absolutely. Do I want more Halo soon? Yes. Do I think they should have done a spinoff? Absolutely. Do I think a BR would have been great? Yeah, if they'd gotten it out in time. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be accessible now. And I also will say that, like, this is a tangential thing. I wouldn't say it's one-to-one, but Microsoft is not doing a good enough job right now cross-promoting its stuff. The idea that there's not, Halo armor available in Starfield and in COD, weird. The idea that you can't, equip Gears armor in those games, strange. The idea that you can't open up Infinite and get COG style armor, odd. Where's your Starfield armor in Halo Infinite? Like those little things, those collabs, I think at one point we used to worry they suck the soul out of some games, but Starfield could use some of that. They could use a little soul. You can have a little fun with Halo Infinite armors. And Call of Duty, in a world where you've got Michael Myers running around, why can't you have Master Chief? And so I understand the qualms, but do a better job at bringing those characters and franchises to cross-promote with one another. And I think you're going to be happier with the overall product. So again, I think I've touched on a couple different aspects there, but ultimately, I'm glad with the direction that Microsoft is taking.
I think. Sorry.
Go ahead, Jez. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, some of that stuff will come. I think it's like early days. Like, yeah, you have to remember, like, Blizzard just got, for example, a new CEO. Like, after Mikey Barra had only just come in, and she's got her own agenda. It's kind of a good thing that she's new, because I think she wouldn't push back on some of that stuff necessarily more than a veteran might. So she might be more on board with the cross-pollination stuff you're talking about. And a lot, like I've already seen, like Game Pass mentions come up in BattleNet. I never thought I'd see the day. When you open the Diablo page on BattleNet, for example, it says also available on Game Pass. And it's like, wow, it's like I never thought I'd see that in a million years. So I think those collabs are coming. It's just a matter of time and priorities, I guess. They've got to. I mean, BattleNet barely works. It works, but it's not a great experience. Some of that stuff is got to be amended at a system level before they start pushing it, I think. Which is, again, like what my editorial was about the other day. Like Rand was being mean and bullying me for my editorial earlier about this is Xbox, but it was all about it being too early. I don't think you can claim this is Xbox, this is this and that, and the other is Xbox, when so much of it is still not very well integrated. And I think, but I do think it'll come.
Well, when Luke is specifically talking about the skins, I mean, that's something you always mention about Halo. Like Halo doesn't do, like they do skins that are in-game lore that look cool but like they don't go, I guess, the extra mile where, like Luke mentioned, you play Call of Duty and you could get power bombed by Rhea Ripley and then see the next person running around as Michael Myers. And then, there's a dragon character flying around, or you go play Fortnite and there's this someone's Goku, someone's Batman, and it doesn't matter because it adds to the allure of those games of being able to play as the character that you want. And then you play Halo, and Halo is very much structured into, it's like, no, like it's got to be Molnar 6.2, right? It's got to look like that, and there might we might add some cat ears or something, but we're not doing like Doomslayer and stuff and all these weird crossovers they could do to drive more engagement, right? Yeah.
Wild to me. Like, if there's not a Doomslayer skin in another Microsoft property come Dark Ages, then what are we doing?
The rumor is that there is a Doomslayer skin coming to COD.
Good. Fantastic, because I'll buy it. And like, if you spent $70 billion to make money, give yourself another way to make money. I mean, it does not get more complex than that. And again, the soul of the game argument, I would have acknowledged it in the early days of I don't know, Halo Infinite maybe, right? Like maybe you don't put COD in there, or you don't put Gears in there, but like Gears 5 launched with 2 Spartans. They could have sold all of Noble Team, and they only had 2. And like people would have bought it, played it, enjoyed it, and like they looked great. You boot up Gears 5, you can see 2 of the best Halo armors and graphics work that you can see across any game, and it's just there, and they could have done more with it. And so I want more of that stuff. I think it's important to Xbox's future and future proofing. Like where's your Starfield references? Like I'm driving around on the Rev 8. I'm finally getting to Shattered Space, which is its own level of good and bad. But I'm finally getting there, and like the Rev 8, I'm driving around, and buggy as it is, but insert Bethesda joke here. Like, where's the Warthog? Like, why is that not a thing? You tell me I can't get a green one? Like, I can't get just an homage? Like, I shouldn't have to wait on user-generated content for that. Make it a Warthog. Who cares?
Yeah. I'm like,
that would be cool.
I was someone in that camp of like, oh man, all these skins are dumb and annoying and law breaking. Like it was weird and irritating seeing Rhea Ripley powerbomb someone to finish him off in Call of Duty. It's not really like my, oh my god, this is my my quintessential tactical shooter experience, right? But at the same time, the ship is well and truly sad. That's what people want. That's what the people are asking for. I don't know if it's a Gen Z thing or whatever, but maybe just most people don't think like I think, and I suppose some of us don't think. But yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. I do think that shit will come. I wish it was optional. I wish you could turn it off.
Now, see, that's something I've thought about a lot. Like, if I could play Fortnite against whomever, they look like Goku, I set it to Marvel only or DC only, and I'm a happy camper. Yeah. Like, that'd be great. And they're getting what they want. I get what I want. I spent money. If I want to have all, I don't know, what's something cheesy that the kids like? Ice Spice is in there right now. Weird. But like, if they want to have all Ice Spices, then I'm sitting here running around as the Ninja Turtles. It's some rapper person. I don't know. I work with the youth, but I'm young. I'm not young. And so, like, if they want that, cool. I'd rather run around with the TMNT skins all day.
You mentioned that you work with the youth, and this is a discussion sometimes Jez will bring up because he'll be like, I was talking to Gen Z, my nephew or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How does the youth feel about Xbox in general? Is that something you ever hear people over talking about, or do you bring up? Like,
do they know you do a podcast?
What's the vibe? Like what's the vibe of the youth?
So I wear my that they gave us the jackets with the patches on it. I wear that jacket regularly. I also have a Halo Infinite jacket. I have a Halo Infinite poster on my wall. I've got Xbox stuff all over the room. And we talk about games a lot. Whatever I'm talking about, whether I teach English, but like if I'm talking about mood and tone, sometimes we'll examine like advertisements and what's the persuasive argument here? What are they trying to get you to do here? The mood here. And like we'll use gaming stuff all the time. They know that I love games in all places, and I do. I cover Xbox. I main on Xbox, but I play in a lot of places. And the kids a few years ago, like 4 years ago, my COVID kid generation, like those groups, they were all PlayStation all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of them are PC. A lot of them are cool with Xbox. They think it's neat. But I will tell you, truly, like whether they like PlayStation, Xbox, or PC, they don't actually care. The question isn't do you like PlayStation or Xbox. The question is, do you play Call of Duty? Do you play Roblox? Do you play Fortnite? Do you play 2K? Like that's the question. It's not a what system do you play. It's what game do you play. To me, my gamer tag has been the same since 2006 when I booted up Ghost Recon. It's been Insipid Ghost because I thought it sounded cool. And they just cycle through names. They don't care. They don't have any. There's no attachment to it. To me, it was special. It's like our screen names back in the AOL days.
Hell yeah.
They just talk like, what's the game you're playing? Oh, that's cool. Xbox, they don't have such and such, but they have Game Pass, and like they know. Whereas 4 years ago, they did not know. And so it's been very interesting to me because I was the odd one out 4 or 5 years ago. They were like, "Ugh, you like Xbox?"
Ugh, Xbox.
Exactly. Yeah, and like, who could blame a generation informed by Xbox One, right? Like, I get it. Like, people are slow to change their mind, despite the great things that Xbox did in the latter half of that gen that sold me on it. But now they're very high on Xbox as a brand. But it's always about what game you play, not what system you have, because half of them are on PC. And I'll tell you this, guys, the funniest thing, they know their way around like school blocks and stuff, and it's dope. Like they're so smart, it's cool. So they'll VPN their way around stuff, and they'll cloud stream games. You play Rocket League off Game Pass at school all the time. They'll play Fortnite. Like we have to be like, guys, okay, X do that. Like close laptops away, do this that. They just use cloud gaming as a norm. That's what they do. They're used to it, which is really fun for me as a gamer to watch it happen. Because as someone who doesn't like get mad at them, I'm just like, all right, now we're doing this. They'll listen to me. They put it away. They'll do whatever I need them to. But it's cool that they can do that, and they're so much into the game, not the platform.
But then does the old rigid Luke Lohr look at those kids playing cloud game and you're like, oh god, 10, 15 years from now, there is going to be no more hardware. Everything's just going to be cloud gaming because the younger generation is going to be perfectly okay with it, right?
That is exactly how I feel. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I did a game preview for covers that comes out next week. Nothing Xbox exclusive or anything, because I know some people were doing that. But the way that works is we cloud stream the stuff, and you do remotes and stuff, and like, so there's this half-second delay like that I have to adjust to, being someone that plays on console, and the kids, it's just normal. They're used to a little latency, and they adapt to it so much better. It does bother me. Like I want the console, I want the hardware, I want it to be here and native and working. But it's just like my thoughts on digital games versus physical. Like, if I was trying to die on that hill, I'd be dead. Like, there's no reason to fight it. Again, I'll go back to the metaphorical thing. Trees that don't bend in the wind break. And we got to bend, and I'm going where the games are. That's where I'll always go, is where the games I want to play are. I bought a MetaQuest 3 recently.
I did see that. You bought it for Batman, right? The Batman Arkham game.
Yeah, coolest story. Talk about going to places. I met somebody in a T-shirt that had Arkham on it at Summer Game Fest. All I said to him was, "Hey, are you on the Arkham team?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "I just appreciate you making Arkham because I love it. It's my favorite game series of all time. I appreciate you. Thank you for making games I love." He said, "What's your name?" I told him. He said, "You gonna play Shadow?" I said, "I'm not gonna have a quest." It was the head of the studio. I had no idea. He sent me a 3S. I loved my 3S so much that I upgraded to a 3 on my own money and gave the 3S to a single dad veteran coworker of mine and said, check out VR, and he checked it out and is in love with it as well. So like, I bought it, or I played it because I wanted Batman Arkham Shadow. That's the game I wanted to play, and now I'm addicted to VR, pouring money into that ecosystem, and Batman Arkham Shadow is my game of the year right now. It's just so good. So it's cool.
Jazz, people do care about VR.
I do hear that. The thing about VR, the issue with VR is not VR itself necessarily. It's like the something I always think about, because like I've got two Quest 2s, right? I've got one in Germany and one in England, and neither family uses it. It's like the family Quest, right? We used it for like 2 days and then we didn't use it. Reason being, like, sorry, there's like a variety of, I don't know, usability issues with it. Like they get steamed up, and they sort of like, they're uncomfortable over time, motion sickness in certain games, all that kind of stuff. But the immersion is, it's undeniable, right? And I think like there is a universe where they can solve some of those issues, and then it could become a thing. But as of right now, it's such a I don't know.
It's a niche thing, but I think also like I'm excited by the topic. So I'm sorry. It's when I look at, all right, PlayStation did the Horizon game, but they also didn't support PSVR 2 very well, or VR 1 if we're being honest. But you've got the Arkham game exclusive to Quest. That's AAA quality. There's a game coming out from Skydance called Behemoth coming out, AAA quality. Alien Rogue Incursion, AAA quality. Metro Awakening, AAA quality. Like, it takes those games and a few of them to do it. I'm surprised Alex hasn't been made multi-platform. I'll be shocked if Sony doesn't send their Horizon game multi-platform as they adjust their strategy to survive. Because you make these games pour resources in, you need to have income return. But in doing that also, the Quest 3 is far superior to the 2 on account of those lenses, and you have a lot of those issues you mentioned are mitigated. But what about the Index or Valve's version of it? It's just like Steam Deck. Like, it's coming along, the ROG Ally coming along. The early adopters will always learn those lessons with the masses, and Xbox is a great teacher of this also. If you're first to it, you're not always at your best or well adopted. But I do hope VR becomes like a comfortable option amongst elite games.
What about those X-Real glasses, Jez? As
What
Matt
about
says
them?
in chat.
Yeah.
Would you still recommend them?
I mean, first of all, I just want to quickly thank Scarcely Relevant, who once again dropped a ton of memberships on the chat. He's like the membership god right now, so thank you so much for that. But the X-Real glasses, it's really funny you said that, because when you mentioned the MetaQuest, I just started fiddling with my X-Real glasses because they're like right next to me, and I really do like them. I used them the other day so I could play my Lenovo Legion Go in bed without having to hold it, because the Lenovo Legion Go is heavy for one thing, and also lying on my back is, and holding the Legion Go in the air is not viable. So I was like, you know what? I could just plug these glasses in and use that as a screen. Like, they are fantastic. I would recommend them, but with caveats. First of all, being they don't work if you are like near or short-sighted. So then you have to get prescription lenses. So that's like an extra $100 on the regular price. I was lucky because I got them through work or whatever. But it's just something worth being aware of. If you are going to get them and you wear glasses, then it could potentially be an issue for you. But I think they're really great. They're, but at the same time, it's like there's a convenience gap like there is with there's a convenience gap like there is with VR. I think even though they're like way more convenient than VR. You still have to get them out, set them up. There's still cables to deal with, all that kind of stuff. And as someone who is used to console, like, getting over that convenience gap is just like, half the time I just can't be bothered, So that's the issue for me with X-Real and basically any wearable right now, is that it's not there's too many cables. If it was like completely wireless and seamless and plug and play and just connected wirelessly, and it had like tons of battery life while being wireless, then it'd be perfect. But all the cables and extra stuff, you just have to be prepared for that. And if you are, then great. But I find them best when I'm on a long flight or something, because then like I set them up, the convenience gap doesn't matter then, because I'm gonna spend like 2 minutes setting them up and then use them for like 9 hours or something. So yeah, that's my long answer on that.
Luke, you mentioned something. I want to circle back around to your students thing, because there's a couple things that we can kind of jump off there. But there's one thing I wanted to ask you. You said like the kids they don't really like. It's not where you play; it's what you play, right? So it's not
Right.
PlayStation or Xbox centric. It's like, oh, do you play Fortnite? Do you play this?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that is the way it is because, as I mentioned before, the multiplayer games are all crossplay now, so it doesn't matter what platform you choose. You can still play with your friends no matter what. Do you think that
Yeah.
has something to do with it?
100%. And I would also, to tack on to that similar point, if not for crossplay, I don't think we'd see an Xbox in the way that we are right now. Like, I don't think they would have survived at the rate they were not selling Xboxes, which sucks because, like, I love mine. But that crossplay, your games being able to play with anybody, really paves the way for them to make the acquisitions of Call of Duty, Diablo, of Fallout 76, of any other platform that's available in multiple places, and they're able to just say, no, this is bringing income into our pockets wherever you are. Crossplay to me is one of the best advents around. When I play Fortnite or Call of Duty, I'm playing with Joseph Moran, who's ugly, by the way. Playing with Joseph Moran. He's on his PlayStation.
He's also a PlayStation fan, by the way.
Yeah, it smells bad too. I saw he came down to see my birthday's tomorrow. He came down to see me this past weekend. It was great to see him.
That was good. And don't you have a thing going on with his mom as well?
Hey, here's the thing. I don't want to kiss and tell. Lovely woman. But he's on his PlayStation. My co-host Logan's usually on his PC. My buddy Kev and I are on Xboxes, and we are unbothered by what the other person's playing on because we're enjoying what we like. And so I stay in my ecosystem because that's what I like. I like being on my Xbox. I prefer this controller. I prefer this ecosystem. It's where I've got money put. But I don't care what controller Logan's using on his PC or Joe's using on his PlayStation. I care about what I'm getting, and I'm getting my best experience from it. And so crossplay was a fantastic thing. I think it really extended the life and opened up doors for Xbox and anybody else that got on board. We saw PlayStation eventually figured it out. Remember they said no.
Man, I remember it was about protecting the children in Minecraft.
Yeah, they saved those kids.
Yeah, they sure did.
But no, they came around too because they're like, wait, this isn't working. And PlayStation is a great example of someone that didn't change quick enough. And we saw from the Insomniac hack, like, they weren't bringing income in the way that they needed to, and they aren't bringing in income. So we've seen their tactics begin to change. They're having the drought year that Xbox had. What was it, in 2022, where no first party and the output wasn't there. They're now in those having those issues, and Xbox is better prepared for the future. Xbox has too many games. They moved Avowed because they had too crowded a release schedule. So, there's an ebb and flow to the industry, but if you don't adapt and don't change, you're gonna suffer. And I think Xbox is suffering. I'm sorry, pardon me. I think PlayStation is suffering because they failed to change too quickly. And those are growing pains that Xbox themselves also went through. And credit to all of us as fans because that have stuck around, because we were in some rough times and it was tough. Leading the charge, carrying the lantern, holding the light, whatever you want to call it. But I do think we've been well rewarded now in all that's available to us as Game Pass subscribers and all that's available to us as Xbox customers, because it does feel like big picture they are in it for the long haul in a lot of different ways. And like, I think Phil's been out there saying, like, I want my portable, my handheld to feel like an Xbox. I want my games available where they are. Yeah, same. Yeah, and if you'd asked me 4 years ago, I would have said something different. But now I see a different perspective. I'd rather just get Halo wherever I can play Halo to enjoy Halo.
What about that handheld? What about that Xbox handheld? It's kind of been a topic most Xbox podcasts talk about because it does seem something like that is going to happen. And then Phil basically came out and confirmed it in these recent interviews about the handheld, but it's that years away. We have like a split divide on Xbox too. Jez is literally all for it. Jez loves these handheld things, right? Mm-hmm. It's probably also one of the reasons why Jez never finishes a game, because he's just like, I can play everything on my handheld or my PC or my Xbox. I mean, I don't know if you know this, Luke, but Dragon Age is one of Jez's favorite franchises, and I beat Dragon Age Veilguard before he did. So, yeah.
And it was one of my favorite franchises until Valve.
Yeah, now he'll say, it wasn't good or whatever.
To be fair, if Valve was better, I'd probably be more inclined to rush through it. But I've been playing other games because it's not
either way
good.
What is a handheld, an Xbox proper handheld, not cloud streaming, which I just saw PlayStation Portal get an update that lets you stream games to the cloud, stream cloud games to the Portal, which was something that wasn't supposed to happen, but now is happening. So I guess
That's another thing. PlayStation late to the party.
Yeah, but I guess it's funny because the same people I saw dragging Xbox for the no console required thing about the Fire Stick and streaming your games are loving the fact that the Portal can stream the games right through the cloud. So it's like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, my favorite company's not doing it, it sucks. But then, oh, my favorite company's doing it now, it's awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what do you is the handheld something that you want? Is like, is that something you're desperately like, dude, I can't wait to get a handheld and Xbox and take all my games on that? Is that something that really you're thinking about? Or is it like me, where I'm just like, I got no use for a handheld whatsoever? Because me and Jez are on opposite sides here. Like, I have zero use for it, and Jez is like, I want this thing right now.
Sure do.
So I want this thing right now too. But again, go back 3 years, you might get a different answer.
Really? So like 3 years ago, you would have been like, Xbox handheld? I don't want it.
Not I don't want it. Just I don't know how I would use it. Kind of like you, right? I was at home all the time. That's where I was. That's what I was doing. But more and more, cloud gaming has taught me that I enjoy gaming like a normal gamer, not just mobile games, wherever I can. I have a backbone. Cloud gaming works a lot better than it used to. xCloud is far superior than it was in 2019. I think it was when it launched. Maybe it was 17, but 19. And so I played a lot of, Lords of the Fallen this past summer that was on Game Pass. Played a lot of that via my backbone and on my phone, and it worked pretty darn well. And so it opened my eyes up to the idea of like, maybe I would enjoy it. I'm talking about VR. Like, you can play cloud games on a Quest via cloud, or Xbox games on a cloud, and I am enjoying that as another option. And so, if Xbox is giving me more places to play, I'm there. They'll have my money. I don't know what are you gonna do? Crush a Series S to get it to work in there? That'll be some magic trickery. But the Switch taught executives and higher ups that were paying attention that if they are convenient, durable, and available, people will buy it. And Steam took a couple of those lessons. ROG took a couple of those lessons, and they said if we are able to get our games to more places and portable, we're good to go. Durable is probably questionable. You could drop a Switch and usually it's going to work. Kids beat those things up. They got stick drift problems, but I wouldn't want to drop a Steam Deck. That said, if that's the direction that means it's Xbox, or it's like you dock it, you get more power, or you dock it and there's your save and it uploads where you were in Fallout 6, 7, 8, whatever we are at when it comes out, and it just uploads to cloud then, and I'm able to play as I move around on this train at my parents' house, wherever I'm going. I like the idea, but I only like the idea if they bring me something special. Give me a reason to own it. Because Xbox has done the whole This is Xbox campaign and giving you reasons not to own hardware, but they're giving you reasons to play Xbox and be in the ecosystem. So if they're going to make a portable, what's the reason to get it versus a ROG or Ally or a Steam Deck or whatnot? I don't know how they solve that dilemma. I'm glad I'm not in charge because I don't know what the right choice is. But give me a reason why if you're Xbox, you need to give me, the customer, a reason why I need your device and not the next ROG Ally, not the next Steam Deck. And then to that further point, I'm still talking a lot, I'm sorry, but what message are you sending to your partners?
Yeah. I mean, that's why we have the guests come on so they can, talk.
But what message do they send to Valve if they're like, hey, appreciate, that well, except people can't do it on Steam. Maybe they're ROG Ally. So what message do they send into Asus if suddenly like Xbox like, thanks for letting us be on your platform for so long, we're leaving, or we've got our own competitor. So there are a lot of places to navigate. But yeah, man, would I buy one? Yeah, it's got to be cost effective. I'm not spending $700 on a console. Like 500 is kind of my hard out for a lot of things on when it comes to gaming. Like unless I'm fortunate as a content creator to get certain discounts, and that's such an elite privileged place to be whenever we get anything. I can't imagine paying more than that, and so it'll be very interesting to see how Xbox goes about this handheld, because Phil said it's coming, more or less, with his non-answer answers. He said it, and you don't want to put it out next to a Switch 2. You don't want to upset your Steam Deck successor or ROG Ally Next or whatever you want to call it, and you want to also satisfy the reason to buy the next Xbox.
Well, also, I don't think you want it to come out around PlayStation's handheld, because I think they're making one. I think the success of the Switch, but then also the success of the Steam Deck and all these other handhelds, and I use success in quotes because are they really? Are they really?
No, but Rand, you think about this stuff completely wrong, right? It's
no,
not.
I don't.
It's no, you really do. You think about it completely wrong.
I actually saw Gene Park retweet some of that stuff about when people talk about the success of handhelds, and then
you think
Steam
about it
versus.
Wrong. You think about it wrong. Gene thinks about it wrong too. It's not.
Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. I'm just saying. There's a stark difference between Switch and then Steam Deck, though. And if you're not going to acknowledge that, then I don't know where we're at.
There actually isn't. There actually
is.
No, there isn't. Because Steam has
it's almost about 130 million of them.
It doesn't fucking matter. If you're selling a Switch for zero profit, it doesn't fucking matter. The only thing that matters.
I'm sure Nintendo is selling a Switch for some money, bro. It's Nintendo.
Not much, man. It's not. We're not talking Apple.
I don't know about that. This is Nintendo.
No.
We're talking about
I know about that. They are not selling that shit for a huge profit. Dude, it's cheap. It's cheap and tacky as hell. Like, there's no way.
That's Nintendo, bro. That's what they do. They sell those things for profit.
$200 on the Switch Lite is not making much profit, man. I don't care what anyone says. There is not much profit going into that fucking thing. It's still full of silicon, and silicon's in more demand than ever, bro. I'm telling you, they ain't making a huge profit on that. It's all about software. It's all about software. It's all about software. It's all about engagement.
Nintendo sells a lot of software.
Yeah, they sure do, but they don't have as much anywhere near as much engagement as Steam.
You see what happens when we get into this
reality comes
discussion?
In. Reality comes walking in and screws up your whole argument. Because
no, it doesn't.
It's all about engagement at the end of the day. These devices are all about engagement. It's all about being where people are. Do you think Microsoft's making anything on cloud right now? They're not. They're not making a penny.
No, of course
they're not making a penny, but they're building
They're not making anything on selling the Xbox consoles either.
No, they're not. But they're making a hell of a lot on microtransactions in Call of Duty.
Sure.
And these devices are about that. It's like, can we get even 1,000 extra users, even if it's zero profit on the hardware? It's all about getting more users, because we live in an algorithmic world where hype drives everything. And if you don't have access because of whatever reason, that's why Microsoft's going so hard on multiplat. I mean, look at Final Fantasy 16 is a great example of a game that launched on one platform and had zero hype, and now sold fuck all on PC.
Well, I wouldn't say Final Fantasy 16 had zero hype when it launched. Come on now.
No, it did. It did. It had zero hype, zero global hype. No one bought a PlayStation for that thing. No one. I mean, how it didn't sell system.
You can't quantify that.
I can totally quantify that, bro. It sold nothing on PC. Sold nothing on PC because no one cares.
Well, yeah, because you missed that window to launch. Well, sure.
But that's the thing. These devices make games available. That's the point of them, is availability. The Switch made so many more games available in places where they otherwise never would be. So, when you look at Steam, which is some of the most highly engaged users in the world, far more engaged than Switch, for example, that is a great business model. Hugely great business model. Because kids ain't engaged. Kids are not engaged. They don't have disposable income. They don't have credit card access. They are not great users to have in your ecosystem. They might be great someday, which is what Nintendo's really good at.
Who do you think is spending all the money on Fortnite and Call of Duty? I bet you it's kids.
Yeah, but
it's young adults.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying, right? There's the bit of Nintendo's business model that's really great is that they get people young and then they become Nintendo adults, right? But Steam, like, they have like all the people with all the money all the time. People who celebrate sales. Nobody celebrates a Nintendo sale. Like, Nintendo games don't even go on sale, really. But like, you got Valve out here selling fucking Counter-Strike skins for thousands of dollars and getting a cut on it, man. So, you know, to say that the Steam Deck is a bad business is just completely wrong.
I didn't say, Luke, did I say selling the Steam Deck is bad business?
No, but you were questioning the virtue of even pursuing.
No, I wasn't. I'm just saying there's a difference between the two.
Yeah, one's good and one's Nintendo.
You see what happens? This is why we're trying not to talk about this stuff. This is very passionate about.
Well, my thing is only that Nintendo's business model is overrated. It's overrated in the sort of the medium term. Like, people just look at the Switch install base and go, "Oh my god, that's so amazing! That's so good! Look how many Switch consoles they sold. They must be the best because they've sold this many consoles." They ain't the best if like 75% of them are sitting in a drawer gathering dust, which is the honest to god reality of the Switch. You know.
Well, so I think that goes back to like the goal. I kind of alluded to this earlier, and this is what we talked about on XCP. What's the goal of the company? The goal is to make money, not necessarily to sell consoles, not necessarily to even sell the game. The goal is to make money, and at that core element, Xbox is successful, right? That's the core element. Now, as the gamer, as the consumer, I want them successful because I want to keep playing the games. Is Nintendo making money? Is PlayStation making money? Is Xbox, Valve, anybody else in that space making money? If the answer is yes, then it's probably a good thing for our industry. And as far as making a handheld, giving more screens and more ways for people to play is smart, unless you're getting diminishing returns. And I think what we're seeing now is just this culture shift that people are willing to invest their money in expensive hardware, but also in handhelds. And there's a place for both cheap and expensive hardware. And so what the right answer is, I don't know. But I know that if Xbox doesn't make a handheld, and they're not available in more places, that's not going to help them big picture.
Yeah. I think that's a problem, especially when everyone's doing it, and that's something that like everybody's going to expect. Like so it's like they have to do it, and it's such a stark contrast from late last generation when it was like, no, they're not making a handheld, even though I know for a fact they had prototypes even back then. But a lot of the prototypes back then were simply cloud gaming. Like they were thinking about putting out a handheld that was cloud gaming only. And even me and Jazz, when we were talking about that stuff back then, it was like, oh, well, if they ever do put out a handheld, it'll essentially be like the PS Portal. It'll just be cloud gaming only type of thing because they're not doing anything native. But then the Steam Deck happened and the popularity of it, right? And then the ROG
you said
Ally,
it wasn't popular.
Well, no, I'm saying the popularity of it, meaning like the popularity you see of like, no, right. But, and then suddenly, because all these handhelds started coming out, it was like, well, I'm sure Xbox and PlayStation are looking at it. And then it was like, well, there actually might be a market here and this might be something we have to do. And now instead of it, where before it was like, no, they'll never do a native Xbox where you download the game so you can play it, now it's like, yeah, that's exactly what they're going to do. Right. So it's kind of crazy how things change in just a short amount of time. But
I mean, this kind of dovetails a little bit into one of Joaquin's questions from earlier about Kadokawa and Sony.
Oh yeah.
Because like we talk about like what are people's strategies right now, and is it selling hardware or is it making money? And like
or is it dominating the anime market?
Or is it dominating the anime market? But like for us and gamers, like everyone's thinking about like, oh shit, what they're going to do from software games? Because if FromSoftware games was pulled from Xbox, that'd be a devastating impact that'd have a disproportionately devastating impact on the Xbox ecosystem, I think.
Well, let's ask Luke. How do you feel about this? Do you think it's going to happen Sony buying Kadokawa?
Let me just wrap up my point first before we ask Luke. But my point was going to be it's kind of like when you look at how companies make money, and Sony kind of like Microsoft's gone all in on making money, right? 100%. That's why they're doing the multi-platform push. That's why they're going hard on trying to get people no matter where they are, and they're investing a ton of money in these loss leading efforts like cloud. Like cloud is a loss leader right now. And the idea is that one day it will be profitable. Regulators will crack it open. They'll be able to have a native app on iOS and Android. The Department of Justice is exploring making Google sell Android, which would definitely open up a huge amount of devices to a more profitable cloud market potentially. So there's all these pieces in place, which is why they're happy for it to be a loss leader. But Sony's sort of like being a little bit more ideological, I feel like, which is why like Helldivers isn't on Xbox, for example. Like Helldivers 2 isn't on Xbox. It's never coming at Xbox. And from what I've heard, like Microsoft's even sort of like Microsoft's pitch to them about maybe you should bring Helldivers here was almost met with derision from what I heard from Sony, because Microsoft, they've pretty publicly said that. I think Phil even called out Helldivers and said, "Who does it help?"
A couple times.
Yeah, he said, "Who does it help?" Right? That's kind of a hint that they've tried to talk Sony around to doing it, right? Because he's right. Like they would make a monster amount of money, and the game's done all it can do on PlayStation, I would say, and it's there's no real reason to not put it on Xbox except for ideology, and Sony's ideology.
Sea of Thieves conundrum.
Yeah,
like
kind
Sea
of.
of Thieves maxed out its user base. It was done. Like,
exactly.
The only way to bring in more was to fundamentally change all the content or make yourself available on a new platform.
Yeah. So
the only
like,
way.
So Sony's like clinging to that ideology, which I suppose is why people are worried about what the Kadokawa acquisition could mean for FromSoftware, because you can bet your ass if Sony could do that and pull those games off Xbox, they definitely would.
Well, I don't think they would pull them off. I just think future
future games. I'm talking about future games. Yeah, Bloodborne 2 or Elden Ring 2 even. I could see Elden Ring 2 being pulled. Yeah, Bloodborne was never on Xbox. Yeah, I know, but like there's like this vague sort of chance that some of these games. Well, I mean, there's no vague chance. Like right now, they're a multi-platform studio set up for that, right? But Sony could be so ideological about it. They could just be like, "Fuck it, this will really hurt Xbox, really boost our own platform, and really continue that narrative that we are the traditional place to play hardcore console games, right?" Yeah.
Well, when we get Luke's thoughts on this, what do you think, Luke?
Will they do it? I suppose is the real question.
Oof. Would PlayStation do it, or will they try to buy FromSoft? I mean,
will they buy it? And if they do, how will it impact Xbox?
It's not even a rumor anymore. I mean, Kadokawa said that they received a letter of intent from Sony to buy them.
Yeah,
today.
Right.
So I mean, like
to the shareholders at the end of the day.
Whether or not Kadokawa accepts, whether or not the regulators actually step in to maybe do their job and be like, you know what, you would have 100% control of the anime whatever that word is that
manga.
I can't say.
Anime manga.
Like this isn't a good thing, right?
Right.
So we're not going to let it go through. But I mean, if it does happen, what are the ramifications of it? And like, sure, Sony's buying them because of the anime shit, right? Let's be honest. They aren't buying them from FromSoftware. That's just like a
that's relevant to us.
A cherry on top of the sundae, right?
Right.
But as Xbox fans, FromSoftware games have been on the platform forever, and they're some of the biggest. And it's like, what would Sony do? So what do you think about this whole thing?
I think it's absolutely about getting to kind of the anime market for sure, and we in our space probably feel it and see it as a FromSoft thing, and so it's definitely about, again, reaching more people to make more money. And so on that respect, it's like, okay, Sony is trying to future-proof. As far as regulators stepping in, I do not see that happening. I do not necessarily understand the level of vitriol that the FTC put Microsoft through for the acquisitions, but I don't see that happening to Sony, especially just watching how that behavior played out. But perhaps, and perhaps this is the answer to the ideology element as well. You have a Japanese company and an American company, and that's just the nature of the differences between them. Whether or not, like, if it goes through, do I think they would pull stuff? Yeah, I think they would. I don't see them being nearly as supportive of other platforms as I do Microsoft. Again, what's the goal? Like, do they want to become, the most hardcore, or the home for the most hardcore gamers to play like the best single player things on console? If that's their goal, then I can see them chasing that. But that is an ever dwindling market, as we just spent an hour talking about how cloud and handhelds are available to more and more people. So if that's their pitch, it's a short-term pitch, not a long-term. I don't think that'd be a smart move. I wonder also, and this is like the petty part of me, I wonder if this is a reaction to Elden Ring having an Xbox and Elden Ring kind of being linked up there, and then you see Square Enix and Sega opening up to Xbox more, and Capcom being available in Game Pass, lots of games available in Game Pass. I wonder if it's a reaction to Xbox trying to make inroads with more Japanese companies and being successful finally, or if that's just a very small perspective to a much larger acquisition. And a lot of times as gamers, we tend to think, oh, it's all about Call of Duty. Well, was it about Call of Duty or was it about Candy Crush in the mobile store? Both are big. Which one was bigger? Which was the goal? And like, only the boardroom exec C-suites know the answer to that. But we tend to think it's about the stuff that we are interested in. It might be about far more than just that. But I don't hope it happens. I really don't. I don't necessarily think PlayStation would be a good steward for gaming in that respect, in that sense. The idea that Spider-Man is such a beloved character by so many people and you can only play it on PlayStation, and they're finally getting to the PC market, but like, that sucks. I wouldn't want Batman to be exclusive or Star Wars to be exclusive. I don't enjoy that kind of stuff. If you want to argue Halo or God of War, I'll still entertain the argument, but more and more I'm like, this property belongs to so many more people's hearts. Put it everywhere. So same with like things like Doom. Like with Xbox, they didn't shift Doom away. They could have put Dark Ages exclusive. Doom being everywhere only helps. It only helps. So I guess that's my takeaway. I really hope that, letter of intent out there and everything else, I really hope it doesn't go through, because I would hate for Elden Ring 2 or whatever it is to be exclusive. I would hate for Dark Souls to go away for other users, and I don't see PlayStation being multi-platform supportive the way Xbox is. And I also don't trust PlayStation to support multi-platform anything, given how they've handled Bungie. So, I can't.
Bungie is still doing multi-platform. Marathon's still coming to Xbox now. That may be.
So we think
it is.
Well, no, they've literally said that, and the last video, their last video, they literally put out like 2-3 weeks ago, where the game director came out and talked about the game for 30 minutes, but didn't show any footage. They reiterated that it's coming to PlayStation, PC, and Xbox.
Well, that's cool.
So
I did not expect that.
See, the thing is with this, okay, with the Kadokawa thing, and maybe we'll get more deeper thoughts for the show on Friday, but I think with this move being mostly about anime, I think they would still be buying this company even if it didn't have FromSoftware. Because like that's Sony's focus, is like growing that market, where it's like, okay, you get FromSoftware as just like an add-on. But like you mentioned, or maybe it was Jez that mentioned it, like FromSoftware set up for multi-platform development. And what would it look like to where, okay, well now you're just focusing on one platform. Do you have to are you going to downsize the developer at that point? Or maybe it's like you spent so much money on this stuff that you have to keep it multi-platform.
Well, this is my analytical take, right, rather than my like pessimism take. My analytical take is basically what you're saying. They are a huge studio now. They're set up for multi-platform development, and the investment that Sony would put in would be on the valuation of the company is on the basis of the fact that they sell millions of games on Xbox, and their legacy is on Xbox. They've got developers on Xbox. That is the valuation. That's where the valuation will come from. So much like Destiny and Bungie, which is a monstrously expensive studio to run, as we've all found out, at least for the near to short term, they'd have to stay multi-platform just to get the money's worth out of that initial investment, because that's the valuation they're going to be. They're going to be evaluated at a multi-platform push out to every console platform studio. So I think there's a stronger chance that, even as pessimistic as I am and ideological as I think Sony is at a high level, I think in terms of business realities, I think they'd have to keep that studio multi-platform. Or maybe like they'd put them on a Bloodborne 2 that was exclusive, but I think like Elden Ring would definitely be multi-platform.
Well, but here's the other thing. FromSoftware doesn't own Dark Souls. I believe Bandai owns Dark Souls, so they couldn't do an exclusive Dark Souls.
Well, I don't think we're seeing Dark Souls ever again, anyway.
Well, right, but even still, are we even sure that, what if what if they've already negotiated for like Elden Ring 2
publishing rights
for Bandai, and like, I mean, I guess Sony could come in and buy the publishing rights from Bandai or whatever.
I think Elden Ring 2 definitely launches on Xbox if they do it.
But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely it would be a pretty massive acquisition, and also like people that follow PlayStation and follow Sony have been predicting this acquisition for a long time, because like for the overall business it makes sense for the anime stuff. But
there's also another element of this that I haven't seen people talk about. Tencent is a huge investor in Kadokawa. So Tencent might be like, fuck that, come in and outbid.
Well, Tencent also owns like 15% of FromSoftware as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, but they also own a bit of Kadokawa itself. So I think that could wake up Tencent to be coming in for an acquisition. Now that's obviously complicated because a Chinese company buying a Japanese company is, there's political aspects to that, I think, as well, which again, I'd need to speak to an expert to learn more about how that could shake out. But if we're talking pure money terms, like Tencent could easily outbid Sony, and I think they'd kind of want to. Isn't Tencent also working on some kind of Elden Ring mobile game? I think.
I don't know.
I think
it'd be interesting. I really want to see what happens with this, but once again, circling. The next topic I wanted is like circling back to Luke's kids and his teaching stuff, where you mentioned how you would introduce ads to your students and ask them to dissect it and all that stuff. And well, Microsoft has a brand new ad out, and a lot of people are in their feelings about this.
Not me.
I mean, definitely a lot of people had varying opinions about like whether or not it's the right time. Is it actually a good ad? Does it throw the console under the bus? I mean, is it the most cringe thing ever? Right. So I was going to ask you, like, is this an ad you're going to bring forward to your students to dissect and all that stuff? And outside of that, what do you think about this is an Xbox? And we kind of got, your thoughts about like playing everywhere with the Xboxes. You like that a lot more now than maybe you would have 4 years ago. So I can kind of already guess where you're going to go with this. But are you surprised by the reactions to the ad campaign? Or are you like Jez, where it's like, this is a really good ad campaign, but Jez feels it's way too early because they're advertising an ecosystem that really doesn't exist right now, and that, maybe they should have waited a bit. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm more in line with Jez that they should have waited a bit. I think the ad is fine. I think it was poorly timed because my mind is blanking at the moment. There was something that came along almost right next to it. Phil Spencer quotes or something like it.
No red lines and stuff.
No red lines. So they're willing to put Halo on PlayStation is how a lot of people are hearing that, when they're really just talking about like growing their platforms. Phil talked to GameFile and Bloomberg about how they're definitely going to do more consoles in the future. So to say something like we're definitely going to do more consoles, and then within 24 hours an ad comes out, you don't need a console. It's strange messaging. This ad feels like a reaction to the success of the Switches, like Karen's on a rooftop and playing Switch.
Yeah. She's
But
taking
I
the
do
rooftop parties, and she's the life of the party, and everybody loves her and loves the Switch, right?
Right. Exactly. But it does help remind people that you can log in and play, and like, well, like I'm old and I don't. That's not how I want to play. Like a lot of people just want to play the game. They don't actually care where. And when I'm visiting my in-laws, I log in with my backbone and I play on my phone. I have a Galaxy 8 Pro right now, and so like running cloud gaming it runs just fine, and I'm enjoying, playing what's in my. I'm enjoying the 50 titles now available
Yes.
outside of your Game Pass streaming. So is the ad good? I don't think it speaks to the old style gamer that I am, where I want the console. But does it say what it needs to say to bring in new customers? Yes. Does it rub a lot of people that are likely listening to this show and listen to my show the wrong way? Probably. Like I get it, but it's also, I think, a non-issue. This is not a new message. They've been saying this for years. This isn't different. I saw xCloud, I want to say at 2019 D3, and ever since it's been steadily getting more available. You best believe Halo's going to be on Switch too. Like
Definitely is, yeah.
What Xbox? Like I bet good money, and I've heard most likely that Infinite will show up on Switch too. Cool. Like I'm not an insider, I don't know, but if I'm hearing it, it's probably out there. Like it's one of those things where you just have to think what's best for the brand, and the brand is to be in most places. But it times so poorly with Phil saying we'll definitely do more consoles, less than 3 weeks removed from where Indiana Jones is coming out, knowing that it's only going to be on PlayStation, 6 months later. So it's just an odd time, I think, to want to die on the hill that you have to have an Xbox, because Xbox themselves is not sending a clear message that you have to have an Xbox. As an Xbox gamer, I'm able to play my games in a lot more places. Play it on my VR headset if I want to. Play it on my phone if I want to. I have a Series S downstairs, a Series X upstairs. I'm on my PC, logging in to play my PC games, and all those cloud saves work. Ultimately, that's what I care about. It's just so strange because for the longest time we were the kids on the playground. Are you blast processing, or are you playing Super Mario World? And it's not that way anymore. It's just not. So
blast processing? What's that?
Yeah, that's the Sega Genesis stuff, bro.
That's the Genesis. Yeah.
Oh.
That was the Sega. Were you a Sega
what
kid?
Nintendo don't.
Yep. Yeah.
Blast processing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's. Did you want 2 joysticks, the DualShock, or do you want to play on the 64? And it just doesn't work that way anymore. You can play Halo in so many different places now. What's one more? What is one more? It's one more place that Halo stays alive. But man, I'm sure like I'm frustrating people. Like when I go to plug XCP later and ask people to follow or check out my Patreon or YouTube or whatever, like I know that a lot of people won't want to hear that, and I get it. I understand. It's strange for me too. Again, listen to XCP 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I might have been saying, bring COD exclusive, empower people to buy the Xbox console. You'll get a stronger console base. But I think we're just seeing more and more. That is not the direction gaming is going.
You weren't wrong, because you know what? Phil was sort of saying the same shit. Even after the Bethesda acquisition. Hey, we all remember the infamous quote. We did this acquisition for exclusives, and the games will be available on platforms where Game Pass exists. Well, that went out the window really quickly, didn't it?
Yeah.
Like, the only exclusive game Xbox is going to have from Bethesda is going to end up being Redfall. Because they ain't going to put that anywhere else.
You're right.
Unless Starfield doesn't go. I think Starfield will go to other platforms next year.
I would love Redfall to come to PlayStation, man.
I mean, it won't, because there's no future for that game.
I think it should. I think they should do it anyway.
But also, I forgot, Luke was a huge Redfall fan that had his words taken out of context by Kotaku. I remember this.
Oh, what?
It's true. I was using a hit piece against Redfall.
Yeah, Kotaku used Luke in a hit piece against Redfall.
It did. It was, and like the question was like, do you still play Redfall? And it's like, I do. I enjoy the atmosphere. I liked a lot of what I played. I thought they did a good job with some of the patches. I was talking to Harvey, I forget his last name, Harvey something. I was talking to him. Yeah. That's got to be it. Totally, right? I forget his last name. But like, they were working right up to when they got closed. They did not see that coming. But it yeah, like Redfall in more. What was the question? I got distracted. But Kotaku did. They did hit piece me.
Yeah, is this pointing out about like your Redfall, like what happened
Oh,
with
right.
that? Because you were a fan, and then they used that whole thing again.
Talk to like Xbox or Redfall's only fans, or the Xbox gamers that want Redfall or think Redfall is good, and the rest of us think it's not. I don't know. It was just so.
Kotaku is a fucking shit outlet, and but it's okay because it's pretty much dead now. I think there's only
It's
like
dead,
3 people
yeah.
working there or something. So
Yeah, it was definitely a hit piece, and I was just like, really? Like that's how you? I'm out here celebrating something I enjoy. You're just dunking on me for it? All right, fine, whatever.
Yeah,
But
can't
it's
trust
cringe,
these game
man.
journalists,
It's
bro.
cringe,
You can't trust it.
Yeah.
That's why like when I've gotten hit up from journalists from different outlets to talk about stuff, and I never reply to them. And then Jez will be like, "Oh, I told this person from this outlet to ask you something," and then I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I got the message, but I didn't even bother." And he's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Cause I've been down this path before. I've done interviews specifically about achievements in the past."
Mm-hmm.
Where the questions were like, why did you do this? But the questions were leading in a way about like, so have you destroyed your life by chasing achievements? Like I could tell that the tone of the article was going to be about how achievements have destroyed, someone's life. And sure enough, when that article came out, even though I wasn't mentioned in it, one of the couple people that person did use for quotes specifically were talking about how the achievements had like destroyed their life. So ever since then, I'm just being like, yeah, I don't know about any of this stuff, and even says so. It's like I don't. Sometimes you just don't trust like how journalists are gonna what the real intention is when it comes to asking.
That literally happened to me not long ago. I won't say the outlet, but it was like they asked me a bunch of questions for an article about Xbox, and I was really happy to do it. I was excited to do it because it's good for SEO if your name is attached to a big outlet, because the Google will be like, oh shit, this guy's in this outlet. So it's,
and that was how you got verified on Twitter.
It was, yeah. So yeah, I got sourced by Bloomberg. That's how I got verified on Twitter. So, but it's good for SEO. Like Google, even YouTube, like they'll recognize the name. Like Google knows who I am because I've been in those kind of articles, right? So there was no way I was not going to do it. But I thought like the questions were really fair, and I gave what I thought were comprehensive answers. But when it came to the actual article, they were cherry picked in a way that, I don't know, just painted everything what I said in a completely different light and completely different tone than what I intended it to be. And it's one reason I'm really bad at interviews, because I try and tell the truth. I try and where I can, I give the whole quote, but no one wants to read like 4,000 words of dialogue. So I don't know, but yeah, slight tangent there.
We got one big question left for you, Luke, because I know we're coming up on the time for this episode. I know hour and a half, and Jez got to get back to work and stuff. So
sure do.
One of the big things that obviously has been going around with Xbox this year is the multi-platform push, right? Xbox's business update where they said 4 games, and the 4 games ended up, coming to PlayStation and Switch. We haven't had any games from Xbox go over since then. I made the point on the podcast this past week that I think one of the reasons Phil's out there talking about this some stuff is maybe kind of lay the groundwork for future announcements, because I think we're going to see some Xbox games announced for Switch 2 when that gets eventually revealed, right? Whether it's Halo Infinite, like you said, or a Sea of Thieves Switch 2 port, which I think makes all the sense in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But people are like, there's rumors about Forza Horizon 5 and Age of Empires 2 and all these other games. But
I heard Flight Sim's gearing up for PlayStation.
Flight Sim, yeah, stuff like that, right? And Phil was asked about this, about like, hey, you're bringing other games to other platforms, which is something brand new, something that's never been done before, and people don't like change, and people bought these systems for exclusives, and now they're go everywhere, so some people feel like they're being abandoned, and they don't have a reason to invest anymore, and all that sort of stuff. And Phil's like, no, we don't. When we think about the games, there's no red lines in our library. So something like Halo or Gears or Forza or whatever could be on PlayStation. And people have said, once Halo makes that jump, that's like the soul of Xbox, then what is it anymore? Is like Xbox just a third-party publisher, just like EA or Take-Two, or they're just as soulless corporations just churning out live service games and stuff for money, but there really isn't any artistic vision, really. Some people really truly believe that about like, hey, you cross that line, there's no coming back from that line. It's one thing to put Pentiment and Sea of Thieves on other platforms, but it's an entirely different thing to put Forza, Gears, and Halo elsewhere, right?
Right.
So I just wanted to get your take on the multi-platform strategy. Where do you see it going in the future? What do you think Phil's redlined comments mean and stuff?
The multi-platform strategy is the future, and I think anybody that's telling themselves that it's not is setting themselves up for disappointment. Whether you like it or not, that is the direction that all game companies are having to go to survive. Again, I'll cite Square Enix, Sega, Capcom. They putting their stuff in more places is helping them survive, and they're realizing the error of their ways with some of these exclusivity deals. Helldivers would absolutely be in a better place if it was available to more people. I think the VR community I'm new to it, but I would imagine that soon we start seeing the same thing happen there, that they're going to work to get, if they're putting time and resources into making something, a niche, small, exclusive market is not beneficial versus, going to more places. And unless like Xbox was funding development of something or PlayStation funded development of something, you're going to see things in more places. So do I anticipate seeing Sea of Thieves, Forza, Halo, like the soul of Xbox, as it were? Because I include Sea of Thieves intentionally because for the longest time that was Xbox's most successful IP outside of Minecraft. We don't think of Minecraft as an IP there. It was the only pillar that was consistently bringing new content and money and engagement in. Because between Halo 5 and Infinite, and between Gears 5 and Tactics, there was nothing in the pillar franchises. Forza had a layoff from Horizons 4 to 5. Like, Sea of Thieves was it for a while, whether we want to like look at it that way or not. And Sea of Thieves went other places. So do I think that the soul of Xbox is gone if that happens? No. I understand the initial question, but the moment you take a step back and look, this is the direction they've been going. We knew that they were going to do this. They've said they were going to do this. No red lines means more of the games that you like playing and them not dying off. If they had no red lines sooner, you might have had more hi-fi rushes and such, or something akin to it, which again, bad messaging, bad timing, confusing, maybe even a bad example, perhaps. I'm not sure. But my bigger point is, you're telling me Halo Infinite going to Switch 2 is a bad thing? Like, I got all this Halo stuff on my wall. The bad thing would be is if Halo is done because it's not generating the revenue and income and user base engagement that Call of Duty and Diablo do. Yeah. So giving it a new screen to survive, that's the future I want. I want more Gears of War. Gears, by its nature, was slightly less popular than Halo.
Say that again. Say that again for Jess can hear that.
Shut up.
I want more Gears of War. That chainsaw, man. That's
no, not that part. The part about it, the popularity of it. Say that again.
Halo is more popular than Gears. Sorry,
oh,
Jess.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I had my most successful XCP video is an interview with Cliff Bleszinski. I've had him on twice. He's kind enough to answer me when I message him. Like, to me, like the man's a legend and built something that I cherish. I cherish Gears of War, and I don't know. I've said this before as a morbid term, but like Gears of War quite literally saved my life. Like there is a story to that. So I love Gears. I want more Gears, and I'll take a world where Gears is available on PlayStation if it means I get Gears 6 and Gears Tactics and a Halo ODST 2 and with that. If that's what it takes to get more of them, that's what I'll do. I don't think the soul of Xbox is gone. I don't.
Yeah. I think it's a good thought experiment to think like, imagine if Space Marine 2 had been Xbox exclusive. I don't think it would have made nearly as much of a dent as it did this summer than it was being everywhere. I think like that's like an old school, almost 360 style kind of game, and you know, in every sense of the word. And I think it was more of a big deal because it was everywhere. And I think some of these games like Gears and stuff like that, to cut through the algorithm, to trend on TikTok and Instagram, they have to be available in the first place for them to get out there. So I understand completely why Xbox is doing it. I just kind of, for console gamers, and this is something I've always said, I just wish they'd do a bit more for the console. Like, we've been asking for basic shit like new achievement systems, all that kind of stuff. And I get that they're working hard on features to grow the base, like, you know, the launching the cloud gaming stuff, but bring your own cloud games. Like, you might think that's as easy as flipping a switch, but there's a huge engineering effort that went into that because the system just was not set up for it, you know, until it was. And then you have to sort of work out how you're going to keep those games in storage, because some of those game packages are like hundreds and hundreds of gigabytes. And you've got to have like a RAID array to deliver those games over network cables very quickly. That's the queues you sometimes see. The queues you sometimes see when you do cloud gaming is that the nearest node to you just doesn't have the game installed yet. So that's to like download the game out of cold storage, which is why sometimes you get a queue. So, but yeah, I just wish they'd do a bit more for console gamers and bring us along for the ride rather than just bludgeon us with, this is how it's going to be, deal with it, kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe that's too much to ask, but I think we've done enough damage for 1 week. Luke, do you want to tell the good people of Xbox 2 where they can find you on the internet?
Oh, gosh, absolutely. So, first, thank you all for having me. It has long been a goal and something I've wanted to do is work with you guys. I love when you guys have been on XEP. It means the world to me. So thank you guys. To anybody listening, whether you were watching live over on the Patreon feed or you were watching later on, the Xbox Expansion Pass has been around for 5 years, 251 episodes at the time we're recording this, 125 developer interviews. I really work hard to bring a perspective to covering Xbox that is logical and informative, but also captures the joy that I take in playing. If you're ever willing to subscribe to that, I would encourage and appreciate it. If you're ever willing to check us out on Patreon, as you are the Xbox 2, it really does help. All your independent creators need it. It really does help us in every single way, shape, or form. And then you can find me on all the socials at Insipid Ghost. I'm checking out Blue Sky and loving that. Threads, I'm over there. Yeah, Insipid Ghost is my social handle.
Okay, one last question, a really quick one, and we'll get out of here.
Hit me.
Out of all the games that are still coming to go for Xbox, Indiana Jones, and then South of Midnight, Fable, and all that stuff, all the future games, which is the one that you're most interested in?
If we're not counting Doom: The Dark Ages, correct?
No, we are.
Doom: The Dark Ages.
Because it's Bethesda, you know. So
yeah.
So Doom: The Dark Ages is. I mean, granted, maybe it would be Halo if there was a Halo game announced, but there's not yet, so we don't know. So it's Doom: The Dark Ages. Okay.
Doom: The Dark Ages, yeah, followed by probably South by Midnight. Probably, I think that looks interesting. I really like that. I enjoyed Hellblade. I really did, and so I like these shorter, digestible games. I think there's a place for them.
Really rubs Jez the wrong way that Hellblade got 4 Game Award nominations, though.
I think that's absurd.
I mean, best narrative, best sound design. It's like, that's the things that should have gotten.
Best narrative over World of Warcraft, The War Within.
Dude, it's ridiculous. It's funny. World of Warcraft was not nominated for a single thing, which
is
ridiculous.
Awesome. Not even best ongoing game. Ridiculous, man.
Nope, not even best ongoing game.
How is Fortnite deserving of that over Warcraft? I don't fucking know, but yeah, continue.
Well, I think also you got to remember that now you can be a game even though you have to install a game to play it. And I think that's the cool part.
Yeah.
You know, that's great.
You brought that up. Really quick, I guess another really quick question here. How do you feel about DLCs being nominated for Game of the Year?
I don't like it. Game of the Year is an advertising thing now. And
yes. For all my line of thinking on this one.
Yeah, for all the good that I think the Game Awards does for the industry and bringing people together and having conversations, it's a big advertisement. As far as Phantom Liberty, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Air Tree, there are some expansions worthy of all the praise in the world. But that doesn't mean that by definition they are a game. If you need a game in order to play a different game, like a different purchase, to play the content, then I don't think that makes you a game. So I don't think Shadow of the Erdtree is a game. But do I think it's worthy of praise, recognition, quality, all that stuff? Yes. I just wish that the awards established this should have long been answered for how they were going to handle it. Long been answered. And they haven't. You're telling me The Witcher 3's DLCs weren't worthy of praise in this way? So I think it shows an immaturity in the Game Awards and Medium that this is an issue this year. And they couldn't come up with actual games, more actual games that were deserving than DLCs. And I think Phantom Liberty deserved more recognition than it got for what it did last year.
Here's what they should have done. They should have announced that this year was the first year they were doing Hall of Fame inductions. And for the Hall of Fame, can be individuals, dev teams, DLCs, expansions, whatever you want. And then Shadow of the Erdtree could have been eligible for that. Because then you could retroactively include stuff like Blood and Wine, for example. Or I actually thought Hearthstone was better than Blood and Wine.
Blood and Wine did win when the year it came out, best RPG. So like,
I did really.
Did it at Jeff's thing?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Interesting. If that's the case, then that might put a hole in my argument. But I still maintain that, regardless of the impressive quality and nature of Shadow of the Erdtree, by definition, it is not a game. But I also think, who cares? Like, there are so many great games that like I've played that are not on this list, and a lot of my favorite games this year are older games that I'm discovering or communities I'm discovering. So I don't care what the Keeleys say is the game of the year. I care what I enjoy. And that's the part where it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. The part where it does matter is like you could be bringing attention to other teams. You're putting them on stage could make or break a team. That stage gave Tales of Kinzera Zao a fighting chance. And they lost that fight, but it gave them a chance. So
that is true. You know, is it okay? What if it was Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree was set up like Phantom Liberty, where like you could play Cyberpunk and then immediately jump into Phantom Liberty without having to play any of Cyberpunk?
Like expand.
I think even the Witcher DLCs are set up that way, where it's like you can start up the game and then immediately start playing, Wine and Blood or whatever. But like Elden Ring, you had to go through. Like if they changed that, where if you load up Elden Ring and it could immediately jump into DLC, would that make a difference for you?
That's a very nuanced question.
I'm just saying, like, because I've seen people make that argument about Phantom Liberty, about how, like, because you can start up Cyberpunk, and like, I remember when because I finally played Cyberpunk this year, Luke, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's the game of the generation.
It's really good.
I adored it, right? And Phantom Liberty was one of the best expansions I've ever played. But when I loaded up the game, I mean, one of the things it asked me was if I wanted to load straight into and start playing Phantom Liberty right away. Like, I wouldn't even, you know what I'm saying? So if you bypass that, where it's like, you don't need to play 50 hours of Elden Ring and beat all these bosses to access this DLC, it's just available. Does that change your mind then? And we're like, well, okay, well, it is its own standalone thing, I guess, because you don't need to play the other stuff. But I guess that maybe is too of a nuanced thing to really.
It's a nuanced question for sure, but I think I'm gonna say no. That does not change my stance, but I am gonna think on that one. That's worthy of that's a thought experiment for sure. But right now I'm gonna say no.
Did you give Luke a chance to answer what game he's looking forward to the most? Did I miss that?
Yeah. He said Doom.
Doom. Yeah.
Okay. What are you looking forward to the most, Rand? I'll say mine.
Oh man. Out of the games right now that we know that Xbox is putting out, probably Fable. After I saw more of that footage, after Jess shared that footage with me, more of that Fable stuff.
Yeah, good Fable.
I mean, but I mean, Doom is Doom, bro. I mean, Doom Eternal was incredible.
Yeah,
so, it was all right. It's pretty good.
Wait, what? Jazz, come on, man.
It was all right, man.
Doom is so good.
I preferred 2016.
I did too, of the two, but like.
Oh yeah, it was still
DLC.
great, but All the platforming
I-
monkey bar stuff, that was lame. I'm sorry, that was terrible.
I prefer Doom Eternal.
I like Doom 2016, but get me any game. I think I'm a firm believer in the Titanfall 2 methodology. Give me a grapple hook. I'm a happy guy. I do like that. It's my favorite part of Halo. Favorite part of Doom. I was like, yes, give me that grapple hook.
The grapple hook was good. I just hated the monkey bars and the climbing. I thought it really affected the pacing. But anyways, lest we carry on all night talking about games, which is
we could carry on.
We could carry on all night, but I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't go and write up this very important Black Friday deal article that I've been delaying for a million years. So I'm gonna say thanks to everyone, whether you're watching this on Patreon live, Patreon later, YouTube later, or on one of our various audio feeds. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I'm Jez Corden, Windows Central. All our socials, including Luke's, are in the description. And that's it. Let's get out of here. Say goodbye, Rand.
Yeah. Goodbye, Rand.
Bye, Rand. Wait, what?